My screen on YouTube is frozen, so that has me just more than a little bit nervous. Um, I see people asking about where is he? Is this gonna start? He's late. That's not good. Let's see. All right, now look at there. There I am. So hopefully everybody can see me. Again, in the chat, let me know for sure. Can you see me? Um, I'm not going to get into anything until then. Definitely slightly worried about that, but there we go. Okay, it looks like that first minute or so something was wrong. So I did a whole intro. I don't think anybody heard that, so I'm going to start over again. It looks like it kind of just broke in the middle. So welcome back to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. There are, oh my God, 2,575 people watching right now. That shows how much you care about this test today. That shows that you are trying your best to be prepared, that you are taking this seriously, and I think that that is amazing. I'm so glad that you decided to spend a little bit of time with me today. We are less than 3 hours until the AP exam, so I know that there is kind of that mixture of excitement. There is some nerves, I'm sure. There's definitely, there's a lot of feelings that can get all mixed up when you have a test this important, obviously, and it's so different. Nobody really knows what to expect. So AP Physics, I think C went first already, so they just got out of their test. From what I've heard, they survived. College Board servers didn't crash, so that's good. Hopefully they won't crash for you guys today. If they do, don't panic. Don't panic. That's something for College Board to worry about. You just keep writing, okay? The nice thing, and it was definitely a good choice by College Board, is that you aren't going to be writing in their text box. Like, you're going to be writing on your own word processor. So whether it's Word or something on Google Docs or something, whatever you're using, you just keep writing. All right, so don't worry about that. Don't stress about anything else. So up on the screen, you see some general tips. What I just figured I would do in this video, I'm not going to review content with you, and obviously we have, oh my God, 2,900 people right now. That's awesome. That means the chat is probably going to be moving way too fast for me to answer a whole lot of individual specific questions. So I decided what I want to talk about is, you see some general tips here. We'll go over a little bit about the argument essay and the concept application FRQ again. Again, you have all the videos that I've done that in the past. Those of you who have content questions, feel free to ask those questions in the chat. I'm probably not going to respond to those, so I'm not going to be answering content questions. What I mean by a content question is asking about, is judicial review in the Constitution? No, it's not. So there you go. There's one content answer. Or what's incorporation again? Or can you explain checks and balances, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that in this video. I have a ton of videos, in all honesty, that answered those questions. I have all of the content stuff that you need. So if you are a person who is studying and it's so last minute that you're just starting and you need content reviews, then probably this isn't the right video for you. Just being honest, I love that you're here and I appreciate your support. But you should probably be looking at more of the content things. So like the unit review videos. What I'm going to look at is just trying to help everybody feel nice and comfortable and relaxed about what you're going to see on this test today, about how to write it, and just little basic tips and tricks, things that you can do to try to ensure that you're giving yourself the best opportunity to earn as many points as you possibly can. All right, because you have done the work. Now it's time to see that work pay off. That is where we are at this point. All right, so my first tip, number one, relax. I know that it is easier said than done. This is stressful. I know, and it's more stressful than normal because you're sitting at home and there are all these things like, what if I can't get in on College Board? What if my internet goes out? What if my power goes out? What if my Wi-Fi lags? I know there are all those questions. In all honesty, you can't worry about them, right? There's not very much you can do about those things, so it doesn't do you any good to focus on those things, so don't worry about it. What if the AP exam looks a little different than I expected, right? That's possible. What if there's a different number of tasks on the concept application? Again, these are things we can't worry about. You have to trust that you have studied, you have prepared, that you understand the material, and that whatever they put in front of you today, you're going to be able to handle. All right, that's the confidence that I want you to have and to feel good and ready for this test because you guys have done the prep work. Think about it. Most of you started this class back in August, so we are talking, what, 8 solid months of work and preparation getting ready for today, all right? And you guys are ready, all right? So relax, don't worry about it. All right, the next thing is just a reminder. This is something that I kind of wish I had been promoting more to my students, my personal students, and to you guys on YouTube as well, is just to remind you to put your initials and your AP ID number, your AP identification number, at the top of both of your documents. So for this AP test, you're obviously going to need 2 documents. One will be for the concept application, one will be for the argument essay. And part of the directions from College Board is to do exactly that. You should have your initials and your AP ID number at the top of both documents. So yesterday, in one of my live streams, I actually said something a little bit wrong. Not the first time, won't be the last time, but I had put my whole name here. So this is how it should look. So you have like the argument essays here, and at the top of that document, you would have your initials, so mine are CL, and then whatever your AP ID number. And you guys should have that. It is on your AP exam ticket. If you did not get an AP exam ticket, again, don't panic. Just log in to My AP and you should see it there. It should say that you have the AP government exam scheduled for today. It should say your time zone. So for me, 4 p.m. Eastern, wherever you are, it'll have that right there for you, and it should have your AP ID number. You're going to go ahead and put that along with your initials at the top of each document. So it might be a good idea if you're currently on the computer, the laptop, whatever it is that you're going to be using to take your AP exam today, it might be a good idea for you to go ahead and to open up 2 blank Word docs and type your AP ID number right now, put your initials there. That is one less thing to worry about, so I would encourage you to do that. Another thing that you might want to do, it'll save you just a little bit of time when it comes to the uploading. If you have those 2 Word docs, if you want to save them right now, so save one of them as concept application with your last name maybe, and then save the other one as argument essay with your last name, save them right now so that when you finish writing that argument essay or that concept application, all you have to do is save. You don't have to, because like the first time you save a document, you have to save as, you have to name it, choose its location, where it's going to be on your computer. It's not long, I know, it's a really quick process, but we should probably save any time we can get, right? So if you can save yourself a few seconds, so if you have it saved already before, and then just make sure that when you finish writing that essay, you click save so that you aren't submitting a blank document, because that would be tragic. Like that would be absolutely awful. All right, so that's just an idea. Again, it's not a requirement. It's not something that you have to do. It's just an idea. It's just a thought. All right, the third bullet point says, it says to disable Grammarly. I'm putting a question mark by that. What I would tell you to do is to disable Grammarly. My question mark here is just to show that I have had people tell me that they went on and took the practice test, like did the the whole walkthrough thing, and they had Grammarly still on their computer, and that it worked. What College Board had said was that if Grammarly was, if you had Grammarly still functioning, that you would not be able to take the test. That's the information they had put out. I am not sure if that's true or not. I would advise you disable Grammarly, right? There's no reason, because first of all, as you guys have seen, the AP Gov FRQs, they are not about how well you write. They are not about you using good grammar. They are not about your vocabulary. They are not about anything, a beautiful introduction, how eloquently you write. They are a very, very functional first type of FRQ, right? So you don't need Grammarly. If you have comma splices, who cares? The vast majority of AP Gov readers are probably not going to know that that's a comma splice. Let's be honest. It's not that big of a deal. And some of them will. I'll judge you secretly for your bad grammar, but it's not what anybody's grading about. And honestly, when you're reading, you're trying to grade these so fast that you're just looking for the answers. You don't care how well or poorly it's written. Are they doing what they need to do? That's the real thing. So there's no use for Grammarly on this exam anyway. It's not going to help you. So the only thing it would do is run a risk of messing up your ability to take the test, I think. So I would tell you, again, disable Grammarly. It's going with what they said to do. I think it's probably a good idea. All right, there are 4,000 of you guys on here right now. Again, I just want to say thank you to that. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's unbelievable to see that many people here at one time. That's incredible. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to promise not to do this a whole lot and keep asking people to like the video, but if you do want to hit that like button for me, of course I appreciate it. Those of you who might just now be finding me, you still have 3 hours for the AP exam, so I would encourage you subscribe to my channel and then get out there and see some of the videos that I have. What I would recommend to those of you who are absolute procrastinators just now starting to study is, again, not to chill out in this video too much. I would go and I would look at the required document video, the required case video, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and then the how to write a concept application and how to write the argument essay. Like if that's all you have time for, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos, 7, yeah, so 7 videos. That's the bread and butter. Like everything else helps and is great, obviously, but for those of you who are last-second procrastinators, that might be the best idea. All right, so again, I see people asking about it in the comments. I just glanced at it. Like I said, I'm not going to answer a whole lot of direct things from the chat, but your AP ID number, again, where you find that is going to be on your AP exam ticket. That should have been emailed to you on Saturday. So everybody here should already know about their AP exam ticket. You should have clicked that. It should have your name and it should have your AP ID number. If you did not get that email, first thing is check your spam or junk folder. If it's not there, no problem. Still, don't panic. Just log in to My AP and you should find it there on My AP. All right, so you don't need the ticket. If you didn't have the ticket, it's okay. Log into My AP and it'll have that ID number. That's what you need. Okay. All right. Next piece of advice is to watch the clock. All right, this mouse is a little sensitive. Sorry about that. We're going to go ahead and highlight that one. Watch the clock. You have 30 minutes on the argument essay. Then you have 20 minutes on the concept application. All right, so 30 minutes I think is going to be plenty of time. Now remember that 30 minutes, it does include your upload time. All right, so that's why College Board has said you have 25 minutes plus 5 to upload. What that really will look like will be one set of 30 minutes. So when you click begin or whatever, start, begin, whatever button you hit that opens and launches the test and shows you the prompt, on the screen there will be a timer and it will start for the argument essay with 30 minutes on the clock. All right, so 3000, and then it'll start ticking down 29, 59, 58, etc. There are not 2 timers, so it's not a timer for and now your writing time is up and now upload. It's not like that. The timer, when it hits 5 minutes, so that means 25 minutes have passed, that timer will, I believe it turns red, right? At the 5-minute mark, it'll turn red, and that is warning you that your 25 minutes have passed. You now need to be uploading that document. Of course, you and I both know it should not hopefully take you 5 minutes to upload a document, all right? Because you're either going to upload it, so you're going to have it saved and upload it as an attachment, or you're just going to copy paste. Either one is fine. I have no personal preference on which one you do. That is 110% up to you. So you choose whatever you're most comfortable with. The advice I gave last night is that maybe if you have a Google Doc that you're doing it on, copy paste is probably the better option for you because of the formatting issues that come from going from Google Docs to something else. But it really doesn't matter. You have complete freedom, whatever your preference is. Go with that, whether you want to upload or whether you want to copy paste. You do have the option of handwriting. Again, I'm going to assume that the vast majority of you are choosing not to handwrite. Handwriting it is going to be slower. If you are handwriting it, then you can do that. Make sure you have your AP ID number and your initials at the top of every piece of paper that you write on. And when you take a picture of that, make sure that your essay is able to be read. All right. If you take a picture and it's all shadows and it's all dark and nobody can read what you're writing, that is not a valid reason to get a retake for the test. It's just going to be something that's unscorable. It's the same idea when somebody has really poor handwriting and you just cannot read it, then you can't earn a point. That's all there is to it. So I would definitely encourage you to be typing, but that's up to every individual. And your answer must be submitted before the clock hits 0. This is the most important thing. It's more important than how to write the thesis or how to label things or anything else. I know that's crazy that this is the most important thing, but it is. Normally, we're all used to the test, and the proctor or the test administrator will come on and say 5 minutes remaining, and then they will come on and say pencils down or something like that, that the test is completed, close your test booklets, and await further instructions. It's something like that they'll say. And you just stop. And if you were in the middle of writing something, everything else you wrote is still good and is testable, or it's gradable and scoreable, and you'll get a score for it. This year, if that clock hits 0 and you have not submitted your response, you earn 0 points. All right. The argument essay is 60% of your score. There's no coming back from that. If you get 0 out of that 60%, I don't think there's a way that you're going to get a 3 on the AP exam if you get 0 on that essay. So you have to submit. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and move into the argument essay and be a little bit more specific now, talking about this one. My advice is to act like you have between 25 to 28 minutes. College Board says 25 minutes. So you can go on the conservative side, go 25 minutes, and then you have a full 5 minutes to upload. I think you might be able to squeeze out an extra couple of minutes if you want. I would definitely not encourage you going anywhere past 28 minutes. That's starting to get pretty risky. What if there's a lag? What if it's slow? What if, I mean, their servers could definitely be overwhelmed today. The Gov test, there's 2 physics tests, before, and then Gov. Gov is several times larger than physics. So there is definitely a chance that it could be a little scary here and there as you upload that. So give yourself time. All right. If you're at 26 minutes and you have written the entire essay and you have proofread it, oh, that's one that I have to say. Let's just add that right now. While I'm thinking of it, that's going to get all caps, is to proofread. I can't spell proofread, but it's important. All right, so proofread. What was I saying? All right, so yeah, if you hit that 26-minute mark and you're done, you have proofread, and now you're thinking, all right, should I try again? Should I add another, should I try a second answer for my describe, or should I add another answer, another piece of evidence? My answer is no. If you have completed what you're assigned to do and you're at the 26-minute mark or so, that's not time to be adding anything extra. If you're able to do extra stuff before that, that's great, go for it. But it's just the risk reward is not worth it. You've already answered the whole prompt. To give yourself an extra chance at something that you might not even need at the risk of not uploading it on time and then getting a 0, in no universe is that a good trade-off. All right, I like to take risks, but that is not a good risk. So please don't do that. All right, so I highlighted proofread. It's definitely important to make sure that you proofread. I have had people, so I'm not putting anybody out there. I've had some of my own students and people on YouTube in the last 2 days that have given me an argument essay or shown me something to read, and it's good, and then they're missing a single word, like the word not. That's a really important one to miss. So therefore, there was a prompt. I'm going to use an example. I don't know if he's watching this right now, but I'm not picking on you. It's a good example we can all learn from. But he was writing about whether or not Congress should regulate Facebook on speech issues, right? And then, so he chose the argument that they should not. So that's what the thesis said, is that they should not regulate Facebook. And then they go through their argument and they're giving examples of freedom of speech, and it's all good. And then the last sentence, closing the loop, which is needed to get the explain point, they then said, therefore, Congress should regulate Facebook, blah, 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 and contradicted themselves. That would cost you that point. So make sure that you proofread, all right? So again, best practice is probably to finish by the 25-minute mark. Take a moment, 60 to 90 seconds to proofread real quick. Again, you're not really proofreading for grammar. It needs to be understandable, obviously. If the reader can't understand what you're saying, then they can't score you and you can't earn points. It's not about style and, ooh, that's this is a synonym for some other word, and it'll sound better and I'll look better. Don't worry about that. Don't change your example at the last possible second. You're looking to see, did I say something that contradicts what I mean? Something like that. That's what you're looking for. So that's definitely some advice right there that I would encourage you, definitely proofread. All right, now getting into specifically with the argument essay. Again, those of you who have been around and watched my videos, you guys already know this, but again, just reminders of what we're doing here. And by the way, every time I say something that you already know, exhale, breathe a sigh of relief. It's showing you how well prepared you are. When I was thinking about what to talk about, I'm like, I have told them everything I know about this thing. So like, what are we going to talk about? I'm just going to review these things. So if you've heard this before, if you know it, again, I'm trying to prove to you guys that you have good reason to feel comfortable. So like I said, the more that you already know about this, the better you should be feeling. Again, thank you to all 4,500 of you who are watching right now. I am totally blown away by that. It is incredible. It really is. So thank you guys so much. All right, so when we write our argument essay, we jump right into the thesis statement. That is the first thing that we write. We do not write an introduction. There's no contextualization. There is no showing, again, how artistic you are and how beautifully you can write and how the eloquence of your prose. There are other exams for that, and this isn't one of them. So none of that. You guys are on the clock, 25 to 28 minutes tops. So you get right to the point, thesis statement. So that's going to be your first thing. Use the words in the prompt. Again, this is where sometimes, by the way, the prompt is not very grammatical. So having Grammarly could be a bad thing for you, like an actively bad thing on this exam, because maybe you decide, so you run the app and it suggests some different ways to word things, but that might possibly change the meaning of the thesis statement if that were to happen. So I would again encourage you to not use that. So you're going to begin with that thesis statement and you're going to use the words that are in the prompt. So again, just going back to one that we've done already. So this was the one that we did yesterday. You have the thesis statement, which says to develop an argument about whether those interested in protecting minority rights should seek protections at the state level or at the federal level. All right, so state or federal are your two choices there. And your instructions will be exactly this. I color-coded it because it's just to remind us that we have two things that are expected of us on the thesis statement. In red, articulate a defensible claim or thesis that responds to the prompt. And then the second thing that you must do is and establishes a line of reasoning. So again, the way that I have encouraged you to write this all along, there are more than one way to write this. There is more than one way to write this. So I am not claiming to you that mine is the only right way. It's not. There are lots of right ways to do it. What I am telling you is that this is one of the right ways to do it. All right, I am sure of that. I am confident in that. And if you write it this way, you will be fine. You'll get your thesis point. If you have other ways, I know so many of you have amazing AP Gov teachers out there, and they have a slightly different way. They want you to put two things. That's fine. Do it. It's absolutely fine. By all means, do that. My way is pretty simple. It says those interested in protecting minority rights. Well, where did I get that from? I took that from the prompt. Those interested in protecting minority rights should seek protections. And I say should seek protections at, and then I just choose state or federal level. When we brainstormed yesterday together as a group on the chat, we all seem to overwhelmingly favor the federal government as being the easier one to write for that. And so that's what we do at the federal level of government. That is the first part, right? So at that point, we have articulated a defensible claim. There is no half credit on the AP exam. Therefore, if you stopped at the word government and put a period there, you would earn 0 points. Yes, you have done half of the job, but you will not get half of the points. So you must do the full and complete job, which means also establishing a line of reasoning. So this is where you use the word because. Again, depending on how that prompt is worded, sometimes the word because doesn't make sense. Don't panic if you write it slightly differently. The word because is not the key thing. To me, that's the easiest way to write it 95% of the time, but maybe today is that 5%. It might happen. Again, don't panic. That's why I don't try to tell people there's a formula to writing these things. If you understand the basics of what you're looking for, you'll get it. So you have the claim and then the line of reasoning. So however you get there, I like to get there using the word because. So what's my reasoning for why I think that minority rights are protected better at the federal level? I can mention my two pieces of evidence. Don't just identify a document though. So if you were to say because of Federalist number 10, that is not an answer. Because of the Fourth Amendment, that is not an answer. Because of the First Amendment, not an answer. All right, so you need to actually say something. So I will tell you not to do that. Because, and there's lots of different lines of reasoning for this, I said the federal government has a better track record protecting minority rights through legislation, court rulings, and executive actions. This is a little bit extra, so I'm just going to trim this down a little bit because you don't need all of that. The federal government has a better track record of protecting minority rights through legislation, or we can say legislation and court rulings. I don't need it to be in all caps. I am not yelling at anybody, I promise. And court rulings. And now we have one sentence, 3 lines, easy peasy. And if this were a smaller, more normal size font, this is size 24. If we were writing something more normal, look at that. It's a sentence, all right? So I have it larger so that we can all see it easily, but don't get intimidated and be like, that was a 3-line answer. It's not a 3-line answer, all right? It's just that way because I'm on size 24 font, okay? So that's our thesis. Again, I know that we have talked about that a lot, but it's important, and that's what we're here to do today. We're just reviewing those really important key things to make sure that we are good. The argument essay, so now we move on. Argument essay is 3 paragraphs. Again, I like you to write where each thing is its own paragraph. First paragraph is the thesis statement. Second paragraph, evidence number 1. Third paragraph is evidence number 2. Again, we already know what this should look like. We did this yesterday. Again, those of you who are here for that 2 p.m. argument essay video, this is exactly what the final product should look like. All right, so I have my initials at the top with my, what's that called? My AP ID number there. And then I go right into my thesis statement. It is 1 sentence. Boom, done. Enter, space, new paragraph. Again, keep it easy for the reader to score. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to show you. And I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not, but let's see. Because I've read ones in the past, like I've told you before, I've been an AP reader for 6 years, and there are students who turn in something that is 1 single paragraph, and it is just a blob of stuff like this. Now you guys tell me, and I'm going to go ahead and take away the underline to that as well. You guys tell me, does that look like it's easy to score? I want you to imagine that you are a reader, and you are literally reading this essay 8 hours in a row for 7 days, because that's what the job is. It's 56 hours. There's no weekend off. It is 7 consecutive days, 8 hours a day of you reading the same essay over and over. It is very boring, but they usually feed you well. And anyway, but if you have that, does that look like it's easy to score? Or look at this. Like, it's the same exact words. One of these is not more right than the other, right? The information could be great in both of them. And in this one, the information is exactly the same. I literally copy pasted it. This one, I have spacing. I can know, hey, this is where I'm finding the thesis. Paragraph 2, oh look, that's the first piece of evidence. So that was the thesis, that's the first piece of evidence. Oh look, here's the second piece of evidence. It's easy to find. They're starting by telling me, oh look, that's the piece of evidence. It's underlined. I can find it so easily. It's Federalist number 10. Oh, this evidence is Brown versus Board of Education. Awesome. Hey look, they closed the loop. They finished talking about this piece of evidence. They restated the prompt. Therefore, those seeking to protect minority rights will find more success at the federal level. They've signaled to me it's over. This last paragraph, oh look, they just put an extra thesis statement in there just in case to make sure that they got that point. This one, it is just a blob of words, okay? Now, technically, they should both earn the same score, right? Like, both people should earn the same score regardless of how you turned it in. Realistically, again, imagine that you're here reading it and you're sitting here trying to read this and you have read 265 of these today and your eyes are blurry and this is what you see. And you start reading and you're like, all right, that was the thesis point. And then you find the second one, and then you start to get confused. You're like, wait, did they close the loop on that first one? And you're going back and you're like, wait, is that on the first evidence or is that the second evidence? And it becomes confusing. It honestly does. And then people make mistakes. It is much easier to make a mistake and to lose track of where points are on this FRQ than it is on this one. Just 100% is factual, all right? So I would encourage you strongly to write it just like this. Again, I have to take note because there are over 5,000 people on right now, 5,080 to be specific. Again, I can't believe that. It is amazing, truly amazing. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's unbelievable. So I appreciate you guys so much. It is it is awesome. It really is. It feels so good. All right, so the last thing is now for each piece of evidence, you need to do 3 things, and it's the same 3 things for each piece of evidence. You need to start by identifying the evidence that you're using, describe that evidence, and its relevance to the prompt. All right, let me try and do that right there. We're just going to go ahead and underline that. So you identify a piece of evidence. So Federalist number 10 argued that factions were a problem. That is identifying a piece of evidence. I haven't shown that it's relevant to a prompt yet. So then you describe that evidence and now you flesh it out and say how, factions, a majority faction might strip away minority rights. It could oppress people, blah, 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 like that sort of stuff is what you're trying to do here. So describe that evidence, show that it's relevant to the prompt. So that just means that you're on task. Now the third point is for using reasoning to explain, and we know explain goes beyond describing, right? Describing, we are filling in details, all right? We're talking about a process or the details of how what something says or what it is. Explain how or why the evidence supports your thesis. Notice that this is not the same because a lot of times I think this is where people get confused, and again, I get it, I understand why. What I'm saying for the describe is to use evidence and show how it's relevant to the prompt. Just going to go ahead and bold that. Now with the explain, it's how the evidence supports your thesis. So basically, to make this even more simple, the first 2 points are actually kind of easy on the evidence. Like real talk, they're easy points. Those of you who know your documents, you're going to get those 2 points. If you can write the thesis statement, and I already know that you can because I have thumbs up or favorited about 5,000 thesis statements in the last 2 weeks on YouTube. So I know you can do that. And I'm telling you that factually. That's not even like a BS blowing smoke being like, oh, you can do it. It's up. You can do it. I have scored a ton of them from you guys. I know that you can. First point, here is something accurate that's in the document. That's a point. Second point is for showing how that accurate thing that you said from the document relates to the prompt. So that just means that it's on task. So like going back over here to the argument essay that we have from the first one from yesterday, we're developing an argument about minority rights being protected at the state or federal level. First point is in blue. All I'm saying is what Madison said, minority rights will be better protected in the new federal government than at the state level. Now that sentence is actually good enough that I'm borderline already getting the describe point. So this sentence absolutely earns me the first point for identifying the evidence, but because I did specifically go to minority rights, I probably already earned the describe point. All right, so again, this is where I want you to feel good about writing this. This is a really good response here that I wrote yesterday because I wanted to model what a strong FRQ response looks like. You could probably get away with, for instance, this sentence is probably not 100% necessary. Again, I think it makes your answer stronger. And then I use the example of the Civil Rights Act. I wouldn't need to give a specific example. Again, I like to. I think that is stronger. But again, all that I've done in red and blue, though, is I've shown that what I'm talking about matches the thesis. Sorry, matches the prompt. So the prompt had said about minority rights, and I have said about minority rights. I haven't necessarily proven yet why the answer should be the federal government. And that's what, sorry, went to the wrong one. That's what the last one is how or why the evidence supports your thesis. And so that's where we're getting, right? So we're going from here's evidence, part 2, here is why it's relevant and is talking about what the prompt told me to talk about. And then part 3 is, and here's why my thesis is correct. Here's the proof, here's the evidence. Here's the example to show that my side, that the answer is federal, is the better argument and not state. Last thing that I would want to say about argument essay, again, people were asking this in the chat yesterday. There is no need to mention a counter argument. There is no need to mention an alternative perspective. You don't need to do that in the thesis. You don't need to do that in the evidence. You do not need to do that at all at any point in this argument essay. They have removed that part from the AP exam this year. So there's no reason for you to say, while some might believe that states protect minority rights better, I believe you don't need to do that, all right? Along those same lines, sometimes people are worried about should they write in first person or third person, using personal pronouns. That doesn't matter. Speaking of pronouns, pronouns are dangerous. I don't mean by saying, I or we or you or, this researcher or some nonsense like that. What I'm talking about when I say pronouns can be dangerous, I'm talking about don't use pronouns when it's asking you to write about some concept of formal powers of Congress, and then you're like they, without ever establishing what they means. It becomes very unclear. Like, wait, are you talking about they as the president? Is they the powers? Is they Congress? So be very careful with that. Write out Congress has this power, not that, saying what it is. Don't use pronouns like that. All right. All right. So that is what I want to remind you of for the argument essay. Again, 25 to 28 minutes. When your clock is down below 5 minutes, you should be finishing up and proofreading. When you hit that 27, 28-minute mark, make sure that you are saving what you have written. If you are doing it as an attachment, that it is saved, the most updated version of that document, that you are not trying to submit something that you wrote or that is blank or only had your name, your initials, and your ID on it. So upload that thing, and then you basically just chill and you wait until they open the concept application FRQ for you. All right. And when they do open that concept application FRQ, well, you're going to have 20 minutes on the clock. It'll start at 20 minutes. It'll start counting its way down. When you get down to 5 minutes, just like on the other one, it will turn red. That red is your signal to go ahead and start the submission process. By the way, if you have another person at your house who's going to be home while you're taking this exam today at 4 o'clock, and that person is responsible and a helpful person, if you want to ask them, hey, can you let me know when it's 10 minutes? Can you let me know when it's 15 minutes? I'm sure that you might have somebody around who will do that for you. That could be a helpful thing to do. So you might want to ask for that, because normally you'd have that, right? Like the teacher, the proctor, administrator would come on and they'd say, there are 10 minutes remaining on question number 2. But you don't have that. So just make sure that you are watching your time so that you guys are good on that. All right. So again, I encourage you to use 15 to 18 minutes. Now, label your answers, part A, part B, and part C. Okay, so that is not something that you have to do. If you don't do this, you can still earn points. Again, you are doing it to make it easy for the reader. So again, just going over now to the concept application from yesterday. I don't have one where I copy pasted them and put them all on one slide, but let's just kind of try to do that right quick. Let's get rid of that. Part A, so sorry for this real quick, but just if you bear with me for one moment, just to show you again exactly what this should look like. Let's get rid of these bullet points. I don't want that bullet point life over here. And we need to make our font smaller for sure so that this will fit. All right. Boom. No bullet points. We get part B on there. So again, I just want to show you exactly what this should look like. All right, the point is that it should be easy for the reader to find your answers. By having it labeled, it makes it easier. All right, so we get rid of these stupid bullet points, and this is what the final product should look like, basically. All right, so part A, part B, part C. Notice that I have a paragraph for each part of the answers. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Again, if I just copy paste this, I'm going to show you, and I know it's already obvious, and I know that you're going to agree with me, but let's just imagine that you didn't do this. All right, and so you don't put the A, B, and C, and you don't put a space between each answer, and then you turn this in. All right, again, the information is 100% just as accurate as this. Which one is easier to read? Which one do you think is going to have the better chance of being scored accurately? I think it's this one. This just blob of words, it is not easy to read. It just isn't. So don't do that. All right. So I know that I'm belaboring that point, but again, I think that's where we are right now. You guys are ready. You have the content. It's just these little things to make sure that you are giving yourself 100% best chance to do well on this AP exam today. All right. So every answer gets its own paragraph. Again, notice that is even within a single point. So part A, I only write part A once. And then first, it had told me to describe something, a constitutional principle, and so I described it. And then it said to explain. And so just to go back to the prompt, this is what we are expecting to see today. All right. So we are expecting it to look like this. I'm going to put blue because red seems just a little bit angry, and I am not trying to make anybody more stressed than they are right now. So we're going to put this in blue, nice and easy to read. It's gorgeous. All right. Part A, referencing the scenario, describe the constitutional principle, and explain. Good news for you guys is that these 2 points are separate. So if we come down to my answer over here, let's say that my describe is great, but my explain is trash, all right? Or it's not trash, it's not trash. Your describe is amazing, but the explain, you were just a little off topic, so you don't get the point. It happens, right? The good thing is you will still earn your describe point. So what that means is if it looks like this, part A is worth 2 points. 1 for the describe, 1 for the explain. Those points are separate from each other, all right? So you do not need to earn one to earn the other. That is a really, really, really good thing for us, all right? All right, so going back here, so we have our 2 points there, but I made it its own paragraph. Again, I know like this isn't horrible to do, but again, now it's one giant paragraph, and again, it might not be clear where my describe ends and my explain begins, and I want to make sure that everybody knows, all right? And this thing keeps wanting to auto format, which I don't appreciate, but that's okay. We're going to work with it. So this is the easiest way to write it. It is the best way for that to look. So I think that is absolutely positively what I encourage all of you to do, is to write it just like that, okay? All right, so a couple other things that we want to discuss. All 5 of these points, assuming it's 5 points. So actually, let's do this. Let's jump to this last one real quick, all right? Because I can, this is my fear, all right? My worry, because you guys have trusted me, and you are here. There are 5,600 of you here right now, and while that makes me feel really good, and I am hugely humbled and appreciative of all of that support, at the same time, I know I have a major responsibility. The stuff I'm telling you right now, it needs to be accurate. Like, you're not coming here for somebody to guess and be like, I think this is how you write a thesis statement. You are here for me to give you good information so that you can succeed. And so my worry is that what if the concept application doesn't look exactly like the 2 that College Board have given us? Now, I want you to know that everything I've given you is based on the most recent up-to-date updates from College Board, all along the way, right? So my first concept application FRQ video, it only had 3 points, because that's what it was, and they hadn't told us any different. Once I knew it was 5 points, I made a 5-point video. Once I knew what those 5 points are going to look like, I did that. So I have done my part 100% to make sure that you can be as well prepared as you can be. But what I want you to know is if you open up the concept application and it doesn't look exactly like this, like let's say that there's only one thing to do on part A, it just says to describe, and then part B just says to explain, and part C just says to explain, well, then that's it. Don't panic. Don't worry about it. Just respond to the prompts. It doesn't matter whether there's 3 prompts, 4 prompts, 5, 6. Like when I say prompt, I mean task. So like each one of those is a task, right? So when I talk about that, I like to talk about task verbs. Let me try to go to the right one. Describe, that is a task verb. It is telling you to describe something. Then it says explain something. Then it says explain, describe. That's what you do. So when you open up this concept application, what I want you to start by doing is to count the number of tasks. That's the first thing to do, is for you to know this is how many things I need to do. I fully expect that number to be 5 based on what they have given us in the last 7 days. I think it's 5, all right? If it's not 5, if it's 4, if it's 3, if it's 6, it's fine. You know how to describe. You know how to explain, all right? There is absolutely no need for you to worry or to panic or to be like, oh my God, I thought it was going to be 3 or 5 and now it's 6 or 4. It really doesn't matter. All right, that matters when it gets scored. That'll matter if how many points you needed to get a 3 or 4 or 5. It does not matter today when you guys write it. It just doesn't. So please, 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 please don't worry about that. I hope it's 5. I hope it looks exactly like what we've done. If it looks a little different, what I can tell you, it'll be scenario based. College Board, we know it's scenario based. It'll give you a scenario, and we know that you need to then respond directly to the scenario. All right, so I'm totally out of order on what I'm discussing on this slide right now, but it doesn't matter. It's just kind of what is naturally flowing out of me. All responses must directly reference the scenario. You have to do that. All right, absolutely positively have to do that. As long as you're doing that, again, it doesn't matter whether it's 3, 4, 5 things. Like, I have shown you how to write this thing. You guys have practiced it. I have seen examples. I know that you know how to do this, so you're going to be fine. Don't get hung up on the number of tasks and panic if it's not what you expect. It really isn't going to change anything. Don't let your stress level get up. So right now, I think that even me just mentioning that may have stressed people out. So I think it's at this time, it's a good moment for us to all, again, just, all right, nice big breath. Inhale, exhale out. All right, let's just relax, calm down. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to talk a little softer right now, all right, because that is just not something to worry about. All right, the next thing, so let me get rid of my highlights here so that that's not what's standing out anymore. In bold, what I have written here, it is the 4th bullet point. All 5 points are equally weighted. Okay, so again, I am assuming 5 points. If it ends up being 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, what I say is true, so it doesn't matter. However many there are, they are all equal. Okay, and explain is tougher than a describe. We all know that. Describe, you're just giving the essential characteristics, you're providing the detail or the process. Explain, you are elaborating, you're providing evidence, you are making a relationship clear, you are closing the loop. There's a lot more involved in explaining than there is in describing. There is. What's great for all of us is that they're scored exactly the same. So the describe point might be easy, the explain point might be tougher, they're equal. Okay, so if there are 5 points, then that means each one is 20% of your concept application FRQ score. If there are 3, then each one of them is 1/3 of your score. If there's 4, they're each 1/4 of your score. All right, so again, don't get hung up about the number of tasks, but all tasks are equal. All right, all tasks are equal. So as a result of that, and I put the word may here in italics, and let's go ahead and bold that as well. You may. This is totally optional. Some people this might work, some people it doesn't work, so by all means choose to do it, choose not to do it, doesn't matter to me. The people I would suggest considering this the most would be if you know that you are a person that the timing is going to be tough, okay? Some of you write really fast and you'll have the whole thing done in like 11 minutes. Some of you are more comfortable with more time. You need to think about it, you might write a little bit more, and so the time, it could end up being a little bit difficult. That happens, it's fine. If time is more challenging for you, start with the describes. So go over to your prompt, so pull up the concept application, and part A, we have that describe the constitutional principle. So we're going to go ahead and let's write that one first. And then we notice that part C also has a describe. It says to describe the formal power. So we just do that, right? So we write part A, we answer part A, and then you know what we do because we're on a word processor? We hit enter a few times, and then we write part C, and we talk about the formal powers of Congress, blah, 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 and we do that. And then we go back, and now we write the rest of part A with part A, and we write part B in between parts A and C. That's all there is to it. So I know in most years when you're doing this by hand, it's much more difficult to do that, right? Because you have to like leave a certain amount of space paper, and you're like, I don't want to skip too many lines, leave too big of a space. I don't want to not, skip enough. And so there is a lot of pressure on a handwritten FRQ to go in order, A, B, C, answer, the describe and the explain, then go to part B, and to do it 100% in order. Being able to type, I think, alleviates that pressure. So if you want to start by responding to the describes, that might be a really good idea. Again, especially for the people who might write a little bit slower. And it might be a good idea for anybody, because if you think about it, each describe will be about 1 sentence, maybe 2 sentences. So you're talking about, you're going to write somewhere between 2 to 4 sentences tops. And assuming that you were correct and wrote them accurately, you guys are good, right? You've gotten 2 of the 5 points by writing probably 2 or 3 sentences, and you have already earned 40% of the score for that essay, for that FRQ. At that point, you look over at the clock and you're good, right? You're like, all right, I just wrote 3 sentences. I still have 13 minutes left on the clock, and I'm already 40% done. That should be a really good feeling and give you guys, again, a little bit more confidence, a little bit of comfort, make everybody feel really, really good about where they are at that point. And then the last thing that I have, I know it's not last in order. I have gone totally out of order on this slide. Again, another reason that I want you to encourage you not to panic. Don't panic if you pops up on the screen and you read the scenario and you're like, oh my God, what are they talking about? It might happen. You read the scenario and you might not know what all of the words mean in the scenario, and you're like, how do I write this thing? And then what happens? That panic mode in people's brains, it starts to go crazy, right? And you're like, okay, I cannot believe that my entire AP Gov score is coming down this. I don't know what it's talking about. I'm going to fail this exam. I can't believe this. I'm not going to get college credit. What did I even take this class? What am I doing? And melting down. And meanwhile, the clock is running. Let me know in the comments if you can relate to what I'm describing. That is not what I want you to do. It's not how I want you to react. You do not need to panic if the scenario is complex. There are several concept application FRQs where they have given us a scenario, and yeah, I'm like, wow, if I was a student right now, I would be really worried, because I know I never really taught that kind of stuff, because they are very detailed, very specific scenarios. The reason that you don't need to panic about that, so let's look at this scenario. Again, I did this already with people in the other video where I went over the concept application FRQ. We're just going to try to get rid of everything that I did to change it. So this is the scenario. And in my opinion, this is a pretty complex scenario. It is one that is not necessarily immediately obvious. In Sanchez Espinosa versus Reagan, 1983, again, immediately panic could set in, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know, so there are 5,889 people watching this right now, which again is amazing. I would be stunned if more than 5 people have ever heard of that case before reading this scenario and before seeing this FRQ. So right there you could panic and be like, oh, I don't know what that is. Again, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. 12 members of the House, 12 Nicaraguan citizens, and 2 U.S. citizens sued for damages, injunctive relief. Again, at this point, you're like, what? Damages? We don't talk about damages in AP Gov. Injunctive relief? Crap, what? Injunctive relief? What are we talking about? Maybe some of you are like, all right, injunctive, that sounds like it has something to do with judicial and from a court. Maybe you have no idea what injunctive means. You don't need to. So again, don't panic. It's okay. I promise you don't need to know what injunctive means. And a declaration that President Reagan and other executive officials violated various federal statutes. All right, now that is sounding more like something that I know from AP Gov, right? First 2 lines, I don't know what they're talking about, right? Who are the Nicaragua? What? Citizens? Damages? I don't. But now, all right, President Reagan, I know who that is. If I don't know anything about Reagan, maybe I don't know if he's a Democrat or Republican, if he's like a liberal hero or a conservative icon. I don't know who President Reagan is. I know he was a president, though, because it says president, right? And I know that it's saying that they violated some laws, but then it mentions a specific one, including a law known as the War Powers Resolution. And I'm like, all right, now Now I'm starting to feel better, right? I took AP Gov. I know what the War Powers Resolution is. The nice thing, it actually is really kind because it tells you what it is. It says that requires the president to inform Congress when troops are deployed so Congress can decide whether or not to continue funding such military options. I put that in red because they have defined for us the War Powers Resolution. So even if you didn't know what War Powers Resolution was, maybe your teacher didn't teach it, maybe you were, senioritis, you had, 2 weeks worth of senior skip days when they were doing foreign policy, they just defined it for you. You should be feeling better at this time. The litigants claimed, all right, maybe I don't know what a litigant is. I hope that you do, but maybe you don't. It's not a term that you would 100% know. Claimed this law was violated by supporting paramilitary, what? Paramilitary operations designed to overthrow the government of Nicaragua. Okay. Federal court. All right, so let's say I don't know what that sentence means at all. I'm not going to highlight anything from that. A federal court dismissed the litigation. Okay, so it sounds like litigation means a court case or a lawsuit. Dismissed the litigation as raising political questions. All right, I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it seems important. And the U.S. Court of Appeals for D.C. again affirmed. All right, so that court agreed. Okay, so it says a court dismissed it. Okay. Last thing, all right, it's giving us the reason for why they dismissed it. The district court stated that the Constitution affords the judiciary a very limited role in matters related to foreign policy and national security, stating that such matters are largely, if not exclusively, entrusted to the judicial branches. All right, now that sounds to me like judicial restraint. The court is clearly here not taking sides, and they are not overruling the president, so they are not upholding this congressional lawsuit. Now I'm starting to feel better, right? Those are the important things. The things I've highlighted, those are AP Gov ideas. And if you have taken AP Gov, if you have studied, if you've prepared, you should feel comfortable with what's highlighted. Even if the other stuff is confusing and you're like, I don't really know what they're talking about, we should feel really good with what's highlighted. So the things that are on the screen, we should feel pretty darn good about. And in turn, you should feel good about writing this. So again, my advice or whatever you want to call it over here, don't panic if the scenario seems complex. Let's go back to that one again, because I know there's almost 6,000 people on here right now, and I know a lot of you, I'm sure, didn't watch this video where I went over this the first time. Those of you who did, it's not going to hurt to look at this a little bit more. But let's look at the prompts, right? Like what they're asking or telling us to do here. Do we need to understand the details of what Reagan did, how he was supporting paramilitary operations, overthrowing a foreign government? Like, do we need to actually understand that stuff? And the answer is no. No. Flatly no, we don't. A, referencing the scenario. Describe the constitutional principle reflected in the court's statements. So that's the first part. We're describing a constitutional principle reflected by the court statement. So the court said, so the court statement was this part, right? So we think about, all right, what are our constitutional principles? So the things that are like the foundations of the Constitution. We have a handful of them. Limited government, natural rights, popular sovereignty, republicanism, and the one that's the right answer, separation of powers. It is saying that the court, they don't have a role here. That foreign policy and national security are largely, if not exclusively, entrusted to the political branches, meaning Congress and the president, the ones that are democratically elected. All right. So, do you need to know the specifics of Reagan and Nicaragua? No, you do not. All right. What about the explain? Explain how the court's decision, in this case, affects Congress's formal powers exercised in the War Powers Resolution. Well, thankfully, they told us what those formal powers are. Remember, formal powers are directly stated in the Constitution. So, the War Powers Resolution requires President blah, 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 so that Congress can decide whether or not to continue funding of such military operations. That is the formal power. It is their power of the purse. Again, do you need to understand it in the context of this? No. You just need to know that Congress has control of the money. Therefore, what's going to happen here? The court did not rule in favor of Congress. Sorry, I know I keep clicking. Here we go. So how does that decision affect Congress's ability to control the budget and to take away the power of the purse of, funding this military operation? Well, it hurts it, right? Because Congress was trying to enforce the War Powers Resolution. They wanted to use their power of the purse, and the Supreme Court didn't stick up for Congress. Supreme Court's like, you guys figure it out between yourselves. So Congress just got weaker. Again, we can see that from what they gave us. When we answer this, we always, always, always make sure that we are addressing the scenario. So again, just to show you exactly what that looks like, the court's decision, well, actually, let me go up to part A. Reflected in the district court statement is separation of powers. So that is identifying the constitutional principle. Now I describe it, giving each branch certain jobs. And then it needs to refer to the scenario. So I specifically talk about taking the lead in foreign policy because that is what the scenario is all about. So we do all three of those things. We refer to the scenario. Again, reading my answer in part A, there is no evidence that I know anything about what happened in the 1980s with Reagan and Nicaragua, right? Like maybe I do, but in this FRQ, there's nothing about it to suggest that I do, all right? And it's the same for you guys. So don't feel like you need to know the scenario before, like you're at a disadvantage if you don't know the history of Reagan and Nicaragua. You are absolutely positively not at any kind of disadvantage. You are not expected to know that stuff, so don't worry if you don't know. One of the ones, I think it was the one from last year, they did one and it was about the Federal Reserve. And it got into some specific details about the policies being made by the Fed and about this desire for accountability and transparency. And again, it's getting into ideas and to vocab that is very, very specialized and specific and goes beyond AP Gov vocab. Don't worry about that. If you get a bureaucratic agency as your scenario, and I do think there's a decent chance that they might ask you, so you get your concept application, and they're going to give you something with the bureaucracy, more than likely, they aren't going to announce it by saying, a bureaucratic agency does blah, blah, blah. What they're going to do is give you a real-life example of a real, specific bureaucratic agency. So they're going to mention the EPA. So they're going to say the Environmental Protection Agency, such a blah, blah, blah. Or they're going to mention the Department of Veterans Affairs, or the State Department, or the Federal Reserve, or the FEC. It does not matter. All right, maybe you would like it to be EPA because I think we all have heard of the EPA. We are relatively familiar with the EPA. We can kind of conceptualize and visualize the EPA and what they do, and it makes it easier, I admit. If they give you the Securities and Exchanges Commission, they regulate Wall Street. That might be tougher for people to conceptualize. And a lot of you might not even know that the SEC regulates Wall Street. I don't know. But if you don't know, you don't have to know. And again, that's a lot, pretty much everything I'm trying to say here and trying to convince you of is not to worry about those details. Those are not the things to worry about. You want to know your content, and you want to know how to write your essay and how to write that concept application FRQ. All right, those are the things that you want to be able to do. Yeah, so that's what I encourage you. Again, I want you to relax. I want you to be calm. I want you to feel confident in this. That's definitely where I think you guys should be. Again, 5,900 of you guys are watching this. I really, really, really appreciate it. I know it's not exciting. It's boring for you to hear me to keep saying it. I mean, I wasn't sure if anybody was going to be here today. The fact that you guys are, it is really, really amazing. I do appreciate it so, so, so much. So there are a lot of people, so I am kind of glancing over the chat because at this point, I have said everything that I want to say. I wanted to thank you guys for being amazing. Thank you for your continued support, not just like on these live streams, but all of my videos. You guys have shown so much love, liking the videos, commenting and supporting and all of that, and subscribing. It has been really, really amazing. We have just a little bit under 2 hours to go between now and the AP exam. Again, for those of you who are confident already, who already spent the night cramming, or maybe you didn't cram because you are prepared, you guys go relax. Relax for a little bit. Play a video game for an hour. Go eat something. Take a little nap. Have an alarm on there. You guys want to be getting on to the College Board website by about 3:30. They say to sign in 30 minutes early. It won't take you 30 minutes to actually go through that procedure. You have to fill out a couple things, but it should be pretty quick. But it's probably a good idea to go ahead and get on there. Get on there at 3:30. I see that some people in this chat are hoping for the College Board servers to crash. I am certainly not hoping for that. I want you guys to have a stress-free experience, or as relatively stress-free as possible for you. I know a lot of people do get test-taking anxiety and really stress about that. And besides encouraging you to relax, to realize, do the best that you can. That's all that you can do. You can't control the other things, right? You can't control your internet connection. You can't control College Board servers. You can't control, all these other things, all the changes, coronavirus, lockdowns and quarantines and like all of this stuff. You can't control it, right? And since you can't control it, don't let it give you stress. It's outside of your control. So we just relax. We worry about ourselves, for sure. And, hopefully everything will be fine. I mean, everything will be fine. It's not hopefully. Hopefully you pass. Hopefully you get the score that you wanted to get. But this exam, it is not a life and death situation, Obviously, I'm here to help you, and I want you to do well. I want you all to pass. I think it would be an amazing thing if I have, thousands of you coming back to me over the next, days, weeks, and when we get the scores telling me I got a 5, or, in a couple hours, you're coming back telling me I know I got a 5, that I want to hear that. I really do. And if some of you don't end up getting that score you want, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't ruin your future. Everything will be fine. You're still going to go to college. You're still going to work hard in the future, right? And you're going to make a success no matter what happens. So, don't worry about that. Joanna asked about using the Ultimate Review Packet on the test. You should. There's no ability to collaborate on that, so I do believe that would be fine. Certainly the study guides, that is what they are there for, those study guides in the Ultimate Review Packet. So yeah, definitely. So a few people again are mentioning or asking about Grammarly and whether that should be disabled. Again, all I can go by is what College Board said. They said to disable Grammarly. Like I said, on AP Gov, it really wouldn't matter too much because AP Gov does not care about comma splices. It does not care about run-on sentences or your atrocious grammar that you may have. So Grammarly really isn't going to provide you with much benefit anyway. I don't know. College Board said to disable Grammarly, so I would tell you disable Grammarly, right? Same thing when people are asking about, can I Google stuff? College Board has said Google in and of itself is not prohibited. You can use Google. However, know that you are risking it all, okay? If you end up on the wrong website, if you end up on, a Discord or a Reddit or something like that, or obviously if you're on social media of some sort, these would be ways to very quickly get your score invalidated. They're going to brand you a cheater. It's not worth the risk, all right? It just is. It's really not. It is not worth the risk. So don't do it. Don't take that risk. Morris, I think I shouted out Miss Kaufman yesterday, but there you go again. Miss Kaufman, I don't know if she's on here or not, but what's up, Miss Kaufman? Yeah. So, what if the question is worded strangely? I think we just talked about that, right? You don't panic. Figure it out. Don't panic. Know what you have to do. Know what your described verbs mean or your explained verb means, and then do it to the best of your ability. All right. Can we use an online textbook? Yes, of course. You just can't use other people. So whether that is you calling somebody, you being on a group chat on your phone, you using a shared Google Doc, you using social media or being on a Reddit thread or Discord or anything like that, those are things that you absolutely cannot do. The idea is that anything that is not involving another person is allowed. Study guides are allowed. Books are allowed. Those can be online. They can be offline. Again, I encourage you, if you're able to, have this stuff printed out. I think that's number one, because now you're not risking anything. And you just sit there and you just have your College Board tab open and you have your word processor open and you write your essay, you submit it, you live happily ever after, right? If you have to have something open because that's where your document is, that's where your notes are, then so be it. Do that, but make sure that there is not any ability for communication to take place wherever your notes are. If you're able to communicate, then that is not someplace that we should be. Yeah, just a shout out real quick to BoJack Horseman. He was on a very famous TV show. That was back in the 90s, though, so you might not remember that. It's a little show called Horsing Around. He played a guy called the Horse. All right, so Mr. Rasco, what is up? Go live after the test. I don't know. We'll see about that. Google Doc before the exam. You are. Again, that's the one that you're going to be writing on, so that's fine. The chat is obviously moving pretty quickly. It's hard to keep up with that. What should we name the file? They didn't say, to my knowledge, so I don't think that it matters. So assuming that they didn't say, then that means it doesn't matter, so then you name it whatever you want. What I would suggest is I would go with concept application and your last name. So I would be concept application Lamana. Or concept application and your number. That might also be a good idea. It really should not matter, though. It should not. I agree with Joy Jitters. Probably not the best time to listen to music. I would say maybe from 3:30 to 4 while you are getting ready and you're in the waiting room and you're logging in and all of that. That might be a good time to listen to some music that gets you in a good place. I don't know whether you need like some music to motivate you, to amp you up a little bit, like some motivational music, or whether you want some nice, calm, chill vibes before you get into that test. But maybe that helps you get into a good place mentally. As you're preparing for that exam, that might be a good idea. So before the exam, good time for music. Probably not during the exam. What font do we use? It does not matter. Again, don't be goofy and use like some stupid serial killer font or Comic Sans or Wingdings or something like that. Use a nice normal font. Cambria, New Times Roman, Arial, Calibri, something like that I think would probably be a good idea. Can you copy and paste? I would suggest strongly that you don't copy paste anything. I wouldn't copy paste quotes from the documents. I wouldn't copy paste definition. I would, for 1 hour between 4 and 5 o'clock today, I think that you should forget that Control C and Control V or Command C and Command V exist. Like for right now, those things do not exist. All right, so don't copy paste stuff. No, I've seen those rumors too. It is definitely not true that everybody will receive at least a 3. There's 0% chance that that is true. People are asking what goes first. Is it the initials or the your initials or your ID number? I don't know. Whatever it says on that checklist, and actually I might have the checklist up on this computer. So let me just glance at this real quick. I don't know. It doesn't say which order to do, so I don't think it matters. It has the order of it is APID, and then the next one says initials, so maybe in that order. But it's not going to matter, guys. So don't worry about that. Now we're overstressing things that are too minute to matter. Mrs. Crawford, what's up? I hope your students do great on this AP exam. Again, chat is moving really, really fast. Shout out to Mr. War. I don't know how to say that, but probably go numbers and then initials. That would be my suggestion to you. People are asking where's the ultimate review packet. I don't think I linked to it in this video. It's linked in all of the other all of the other live videos. It's linked to at the end of almost all of my regular videos, the non-live ones. I have links for them all over the place, so you should be able to find that pretty easily if you want to check that out for the study guides. Definitely something you could do. All right. So again, just looking to see if there's anything. Mr. Ellis, what's up? Mr. Wimmer, what's up? No, that's not a Mr. David Kadarka. Okay. All right. Mr. Who? Ms. Fowler, Ms. Jones, Mr. Frederick, Ms. Brown, Mr. Franz. All right, saying what's up to everyone, Mr. McFarland. Thanks, Audrey. So I think that we are winding down here at this point. There are 5,000 people here. We're probably going to start getting out of here. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. Again, I guess I'll leave you with some words of thanks. Again, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for coming back to my channel over and over again. Thank you for watching so many of my videos. Thank you for the kind words, for your words of thanks and words of appreciation. They really do mean a lot to me. I mean, this morning when I woke up, I had a ton of new comments and stuff from people cramming overnight. And then I had so many people that were just really, really kind with their words and the appreciation that they showed. And it means a lot to me. It really, really does. It's probably the best thing about being a teacher is having students, and when students show love and appreciate you when everything's over and feel like you helped them, and then you're able to feel like, hey, they appreciated it and I helped them and they believe I helped them. It feels amazing. And now to be able to do this on a larger scale with thousands of you, instead of, I still love doing it one-on-one with my students, my 150 or so. I can't wait to hear from them, and I hope that they have a lot of success. But hearing your feedback, it has been really, really amazing. And so I do want to say thank you guys again for showing me love like that. And yeah, so thank you guys. Again, relax, calm down. You got this. You have, an hour and 15 minutes or so before you need to be logging on and getting everything to go. If you want to do one last run through, go through the practice to make sure that you're logged in and that everything is working out exactly how it should. By all means, do that. Check that out. Yeah, I guess I'll tell you if you haven't subscribed already to make sure that you subscribe. But I think you guys have, and it's been great. So thank you guys so much. I wish you all the best. I wish you much success on this exam today. I hope that everybody is able to show College Board exactly what you know about this topic, about AP Gov, what you learned, and that you're able to convince them that you are deserving of college credit. And I hope that the college university that you go to, you're able to use that college credit and that you benefited from this class. I hope that you benefited in other ways, how to think about politics and government, and that you feel like a more informed citizen and all of that as well. But yeah, so at this point, I just want to say thank you to you guys. I wish you all the best. I hope you do amazing on this AP test. If you guys got me to 10K by today, maybe we do like a 10K post AP exam celebration. That would be kind of cool. But anyway, again, thank you guys so much. I wish you all the best on the test today. I hope you guys do well. Do your best. Yeah, have a great time. So until next time, this has been a La Money production. Thank you guys so much. You're amazing.